Between the layer of reality and the darkness of unknown worlds lies a mysterious layer where ancient sins are hidden, feeding on human weakness. In the whirlpool of boundless horror, a forgotten evil lurks, which slowly but inexorably spreads its dark roots in the hearts of the most successful and ambitious. In a city of hustle and bustle, where success is measured by digital counters and ringing applause, lived Emily Davis, a successful and energetic woman whose appearance reflected the strength of her character. Her green eyes sparkled with vivacity and determination, and her copper hair, styled in a simple hairstyle, gave her a businesslike elegance. She was tall and slender, and her stern features betrayed her courage and determination. The name of the girl ascended to the heights, and her talent admired many. A brilliant lawyer, she was the epitome of confidence and strength in a court of law, where truth was only the product of overlapping arguments. As a successful lawyer and recognized expert in her profession, she won the courts over with her flamboyant performances and indomitable intellect. Her active life was full of achievements and ambitions. She won one victory after another, striving for the highest peaks of success. Emily did not know the word impossible and did not slow down in her pursuit of perfection. But behind the steely determination and cold pretense, there was an unknown darkness, the gloomy essence of sin, absorbing human souls like a bottomless abyss, darkened the mind and will of its victims. Laziness was more than just a lack of activity. It was a distortion, freezing passion and overshadowing the desire for self-improvement. At the dawn of her intrusion into Emily's life, sloth was almost invisible and sparkled with small manifestations. There were minor deviations from the usual rhythm, subtle excuses and delays that seemed natural and insignificant. But as you know, the devil is in the details. The first signs of her diminished motivation and procrastination appeared subtly. Tasks that Emily used to complete with energy and efficiency began to drop alarmingly on her priority list. Initially, she justified this with fatigue or temporary stress, but gradually her work enthusiasm and passion gave way to indifference and indifference and indifference. Her once perfect daily routine and habits began to fall apart like a sandcastle. Tasks that required instant solutions became easy prey for Leanie. The motivation that had once burned in her chest now smoldered like a dull flame, weaker and more uncertain. Over time, this slow evolution turned into a terrifying transformation. Sloth fortified its position, unceremoniously invading the depths of Emily's consciousness. Talk of new business opportunities was replaced by empty promises and vague plans. Her determination turned to doubt, and her energy to weariness. In every slow line, in every dubious delay, sloth brought Emily closer to her black amphitheater, where the audience was doomed to immobility and decadence. Opening the door for Leanie led to the first creaky hinges, heralding a protracted blackout. Will she be able to resist this evil and regain her strength and determination? Or will she steadily sink into the abyss of inaction and disappear among those who are destined to be doomed to a miserable void? The vice, deeply rooted in her essence, like a hungry parasite, devoured the true potential of the girl. Every moment of inactivity was a drop that fed this terrible creature, which steadily expanded its spaces inside her soul. Eternal worries about her career and the desire for success swallowed her up, distracting her from important aspects of life. Laziness became her faithful companion, who fettered her magnificent potential. The time that she could have spent on self-improvement and development slipped between her fingers, dragging her into a bottomless abyss of inactivity and satisfaction. The dark side penetrated into every cell of her being, like a mysterious gas that poisoned the mind and suppressed the will. Each breath, each fleeting pause in action, became an additional step on the way to the secret absolute emptiness. While the whole world admired Emily Davis and her brilliant achievements, horror grew in the depths of her heart. The great mystery unfolded with each passing day, pushing it to a dangerous limit, where it faced the eternal, insoluble question, are we worthy of our success if we did not put all our strength and devotion to the cause? The atmosphere surrounding Emily was filled with tension and dissatisfaction. Pauses between business meetings and court hearings became unbearable for her, leaving her alone with her own thoughts. As she shone at a social reception or conquered the courtroom, Leanie's dark shadows slowly enveloped her soul, creating an unsettling sense of restlessness. Sin gradually becomes an integral part of the girl herself. Her active life of accomplishment and ambition is threatened when she faces the grim consequences of her inaction. Despite outward brilliance and success, a sense of unease grows inside Emily, forcing her to think about the meaning of her actions and overcoming her own sins. The fateful event that became a turning point in Emily's life played out during an important trial. She was responsible for the cause of protecting the rights of people to freely choose whether to genetically modify their bodies or not. The life and fate of many people depended on her decisive actions, backed up by arguments. But on the day when the pressure was the highest, laziness relentlessly penetrated her essence and overshadowed everything else. Emily felt Leanie's heaviness as she stood in front of the judge, her voice stuttering, her confidence and clarity of thought fading away like a mist. Her previously convincing arguments became unintelligible and meaningless. Hands trembled, and legs flatly refused to obey. A powerful stream of Leanie washed over her, immobilizing and nullifying all her professional skills. The negative consequences of Leanie became clear both for others and for Emily herself. Her relationships with colleagues and loved ones began to break down. She often withdrew from social events, becoming a recluse in her own world. Formerly an active and energetic woman, she has become a shadow of herself, a vague existence that suppresses any initiative and joy. Her professional achievements, which were once famous and admired by others, began to grow into a veil of oblivion. Thoughts became unintelligible and confusing. Important deadlines were missed, and customers remained dissatisfied. Gradually, Emily became only a shadow of the past in the eyes of her colleagues and subordinates. Her glory was fading away, eclipsed by an ominous shadow. Emily's health began to deteriorate under the influence of vice fatigue. Insomnia and stress became constant companions of her life. The lack of movement and the wrong lifestyle led to a decline in her physical form and general well-being. External brilliance gave way to a tired look and a haggard appearance. Emily's self-respect and drive were gradually lost. She felt her potential slip away from her hands, and a sense of missed opportunity swept through her soul, pushing her to fruitless contemplation. In search of answers to her questions about revealing the truth and the path to healing, the girl faced a terrible reality immersed in the darkness of inaction with endless barriers. She was alone in her struggle. Desperate to find salvation from emptiness of sloth, the girl heard a voice. The mysterious and wise mentor introduced himself as Roland, the one who knew all the pitfalls associated with her sin. In a small and cozy room, lit by the dim light of a candle, their mentoring work began, and each meeting with Roland became a guiding star for Emily. In his stories to her about the nature of sin and its cunning tricks, Roland emphasized the awareness of time, which is slipping out of his hands. He instructed her, helping her to realize her mistakes and the sources of her inaction. Roland's final speech to Emily was filled with wisdom and understanding, without a single emotion. As if pronouncing a judgment, Roland recalled all the consequences of her own mistakes and negligence, which weakened her will and led her away from the path of creation. With a low voice, he said, "Emily, time is the most precious treasure. Every moment we miss is lost forever. Sloth's sin knows no mercy, and your sins have now become your fetters." As soon as Roland finished his speech, the darkness of the room grew thicker, as if wrapping her in his arms. The air became dense and permeated with an invisible, mysterious energy that filled the room with an ominous aura. Black shadows began to move along the walls, like living beings trying to capture the soul. From the depths of the darkness came ominous whispers, not loud but quite audible. Echoes of terror and anguish echoed in her ears, making her shudder. These were the voices of thousands of people whom Emily or Bekla took terrible agony, unable to win a fateful case in court. The walls began to pulsate, as if the very essence of the room began to disintegrate, distorting reality. The girl felt her consciousness dissolve into this formless nightmare. The darkness around her came to life, taking shape and movement, shrinking and expanding, as if she were involved in an ominous dance of unknown forces. In the recesses of the room, the dim light of a candle flared, and for a second revealed a vision of primal fear. Emily saw twisted, distorted figures, inhabitants of worlds that shouldn't exist in our reality. They emitted coldness and silently watched her with their terrible eyes without pupils. These piercing glances pressed with an unbearable burden, suggesting that the decision to enter the world of immortal darkness and forget in its arms is unavoidable. With glassy eyes, the girl left her gloomy apartment, slowly rising to the top floor of the skyscraper. At the edge of the abyss, like a twilight thunderstorm, the cold hand of hopelessness gripped Emily to her very bones. She took a final step into the darkness, opening the door to unknown horrors that welcomed her with open arms. And in that moment, she knew that her end would be the beginning of her own awakening.